So we're asking everybody on this panel to give us three things that a career teacher or a career leader or a career advisor and resource in career education and guidance. So here is our expert panel. I'll introduce at the far end the person you haven't met yet is Steve Stewart, who is the Chief Executive of Careers England, which is the employer body for career guidance organisations and companies in England. Nick Chambers, who is the Chief Executive of Education and Employers, and you've met Franz and Deirdre already. Course in career education and guidance. And I think, would it be fair if I start at this end, give Steve time to think about it? Were you aware of the question before?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
I knew you started at that end though, but I was aware. Yeah.
You weren't happy. What, do you want to start then?
No, I do. Go on then.
Okay.
Well, let me contextualise my take on how the world looks in careers. And then I can go on to answer the question, because if I kind of do it in reverse order, you'll say, what's he on about? You might still say that anyway. My take on it is simply this, and this is based on various pieces of surveys that have been done by ourselves, Careers England, and ourselves with the CDI, Careers and Enterprise Company, Ofsted's survey, and a whole host of others. So it's not completely made up by me. It's based on some knowledge, and I take, the way I look at it, I think what we've got at the moment across England is you can roughly divide what's happening in schools into thirds. You've got those who get it, and in those schools that get it, they're doing some very good things. And indeed, there could be a case to be made that they're doing even better things than ever before, because they've taken ownership completely and are really driving the agenda forward. You then got a third of schools that kind of do some good things, but not very much. And in those schools that do some things, why do they do some things? Well, sometimes it's about overcrowding in the curriculum, sometimes it's about money, sometimes it's about both, sometimes it's about the fact that they actually haven't got anybody who can champion the cause. And then you get a third of the school that don't do anything hardly. And probably people in the room probably aren't working with many of them because you don't get in them. Why do they do nothing? Well, actually, some of them do it because they have the kind of culture that, well, they're all going to university, so that's all right, we'll let them sort it out. And then some of them have a view that, blimey, Ofsted are coming in 6 months, the maths and English isn't where it should be, and we'll all get sacked. So if we're going to do anything for the next 6 months, that's where the effort's going to be and the spotlight's going to be. So, what do you do? Well, actually, the challenge for anybody who's working in any institution at whatever level is if you're working with a school that's doing things and has got getting on with life, is to actually keep the appetite for that, and to actually make sure that there is an appetite for even more. If you're working in the other 2/3, it's to start to create an appetite. You know, the why should you argument. Why should you? And I think that comes down to three things that I would suggest that you may, in those 2/3 of schools that are kind of haven't got an appetite. I think there's three things. Firstly, it doesn't do any harm to remind the leadership of the school and also the governing body that they do have a statutory duty. And when you go around and ask a lot of people about what do you think about the statutory guidance, most will say I've never read it. And it's actually all right. It's got some good stuff in it. The big problem is it's full of the word should. And they're obviously very sensitive about that because they even have a definition of what the word should is. Which I didn't think you'd probably need, but anyway, they put it in. And it's all around expectations. But one of the things that a lot of people had said to me is that actually when they did actually bring it to the attention of people within the institution they were working in, the response they got was, I didn't realise this existed. So one practical thing you can do, and don't assume that people have read it, because everybody is incredibly busy, and the thought of reading another document from the DFE doesn't exactly thrill you with enthusiasm. Second thing, I think there's a lot of power in this destination stuff. We've heard today a lot of thoughts about how the independent sector work with employers far better than the state sector. And actually, if you look at that, I get that, because you walk into any reception of a state school, and there's usually a kind of notice board with who's in charge of safeguarding up there, and then on the other side there's usually a pop-up saying, you know, we've got graded good by Ofsted, and those are the messages you get. You walk into these posh schools, and they have on the walls kind of little names of stories of people who've been there, done it, succeeded. And I don't know why we don't have that in state schools. I don't know why you don't have that about, because everybody works in a school, and you talk to people, you say, what school did you go to? They say, I went to so-and-so, you know. They all thought it was really rubbish, but look what I've done now. Some great stories. But somehow in the state sector, we don't capitalise on those stories. And those stories are really destinations. And we don't do that. We don't actually go around in there and say, do you realise, you know, we've got so many people who've been to the school who've done some amazing things. Either because we forgot, didn't ask, or we're so busy with the other agendas. But in these days of reputation, where reputation is all, and you can say that to a lot of politicians at the moment, the reality is simple. Reputation counts for a hell of a lot. And if you're the person in the institution who's actually saying, let me just tell you about some of the things you may not know about this place being great. It happens hugely. Third thing is, we now have a definition of what good looks like, which is the 8 Gatsby benchmarks. What we don't have is a clear route to how you get there. And actually, you know, we're kind of, what Franz said, we're kind of hoping desperately that we'll have a strategy that will help us get there. But actually maybe we've got to do a bit ourselves, eh? And actually, we haven't been very good at helping anybody who's in an institution work their way and understand how to get there, but we've got more to do on that. But the point about it is, if we're able, in any school institution, to say, we know what good looks like, it's 8 Gatsby benchmarks, so let me give you my judgment as to where we are at this moment. Governor, head teacher, senior leader. Actually, that captivates a bit of energy and intention. So my 3 is the whole thing about don't be scared of using the law. That's statutory guidance. Don't be scared of actually talking about what good looks like and saying this is where we are and this is how we could easily get to there. And don't be scared of using the stories from the point of view of reputation for each institution.
Thank you, Steve. Nick?
Yes, with 2 minutes notice for this question, but I will fill in for Brian where I can. Brian, as you know, was the General Secretary of ASCL, a teaching body for many years. So I'm going to start, if I was him, I would start actually with young people and pupils. And I think, having been a former teacher myself, you know, one of the things that drives teachers, obviously, is the best for their children and what motivates and inspires them. We do a lot in primary schools. Nobody's telling us to do stuff in primary schools. There's no legislation. Ofsted not involved in doing anything around careers awareness in primary schools. It's not in the career strategy. We have to find it. But we actually have a lot of primary schools that want to do it. And the reason they want to do it is quite simple, because they can see that young people, and I'm now talking about primary, who can see the meaning and relevance of the subjects they're studying, are more likely to be motivated to work harder in their subjects. So that actually, if you want to get to classroom teachers, beyond career teachers, then it's showing that actually helping kids to understand what they can do in their lives leads to kids being more inspired, broadening their horizons, often working harder and doing better academically, which is what all teachers want to see. So we've gone down that route. Secondly, Ofsted, I know, already been mentioned, but a year ago, actually, with the CDI, we did a report, a very simple report, where we took the Common Inspection Framework and we mapped, using HMI, all the areas where careers, advice and guidance could give you a tick in the Ofsted rating for outstanding rating, and that's on our website if you go to Education and Employers and just Google Ofsted Framework. There's a whole guide there, just a simple tick list to say, if you're doing this as a careers professional in school, you know, this is what an inspector will be looking at in inspections. And I think that's a really powerful thing. It's an interpretation of the Common Inspection Framework. And the third, and maybe a slightly surprising thing for me to say, is competition with other schools. I mean, we found we've got 36,000 volunteers. We've got lots of big companies. When you get one big company, you tend to get their, you know, their competition. If you get one government department, you get another government department. Because a lot of people are thinking, why are doing it? And what we've seen, particularly in primary, but also in secondary schools, where parents are looking at those schools and they see a school that's got really good careers provision for its young people, that people are making choices on that school and the destination for kids based on what the school is doing to prepare people for the world of work. So actually competition, where you can say, well actually the school down the road is doing really well at this, actually is nothing more motivating to head to think, well I don't want to be left behind in competition. So competition, Ofsted, and then most important, motivation of young people.
Thank you. Really useful. Franz, your thoughts?
Yeah, I found it a very difficult question, because my question would be, what three things should a career professional and leader advisor do to ensure investments in career education and guidance? In what kind of education and guidance? That's for me the first question. And without answering that question, it is impossible to make policy on what level whatsoever. So that brings me to the fact, so I work in Dutch vocational education. All my life, vocational education is my thing. And what I've seen there in all schools, primary, secondary, tertiary vocational education, it is really about starting a dialogue. What is good guidance? You have to start a dialogue. And I don't know, there is a Dutch proverb, I don't know exactly if you have the same sort of proverb here in England, but in the Netherlands we say, improve the world, start with yourself. Huh? So don't wait for some master plan, you have to start yourself. You have to start a dialogue about what is a good careers education and guidance. And a dialogue is something completely different than a discussion. Huh? A discussion is, please listen to me because I'm right. Huh? A dialogue starts with, I don't know. So let's talk from the position, I don't know. That dialogue, all human beings, and a dialogue normally is reflective. A discussion is not. But human beings are capable to reflect, but all neuroscience from the last 20 years shows we are capable to reflect, but we hate it. Human beings really hate to reflect. So this dialogue never ever will start out of nothing. It has to be stimulated. And from my experience, you have to start with good evaluations. That's the first thing. You have to do the kind of research, qualitative and quantitative, about what are we doing here? Do we the right thing? Do we really have the results we think we will have by doing stuff? That's the first thing. Good evaluations. And the point is always that what comes up in that evaluation is disturbing. Because you don't do the good things, you don't do the things right, the results are completely different from what you expected to do. So, well, that's the first thing, good evaluations. Then you have to start the dialogue between colleagues. We call that in the next special issue of the British Journal, there is a beautiful article about collective learning in teacher teams. You can't have a dialogue at your own. You have to do it in a team. So you have to start collective learning in teams. And the third thing is collective learning, because dialogue is really difficult, because reflection is really difficult, you have to be sure that the school management is supporting you. And that means that you as a teacher and as a team don't be satisfied with a vague vision. Because a vision is nothing. A vision is we all want peace. Yes, of course. But how to get it? So you have to force school management to make a strategic policy. Not a vision document, but a strategic policy. And a strategic policy means, what is the problem? Why is it our problem? Why can't we give it to somebody else? And now why is it really our problem? And in what direction we have to look for solutions? So you have to ask for a strategic vision before you, as a teacher, suddenly find yourself back in an impossible mission to improve practice, because it won't happen when you have to do it without the support of a strategic policy.
Deirdre,
Just very briefly, I want to be provocative first of all, and say, as a head teacher, we have a system where we're saying we have enterprise coordinators who are going to guide you on careers within your school. And that's nothing against enterprise coordinators. But for an outsider looking in, boy, are we making this complicated. And head teachers will say, I understand enterprise, entrepreneurship, but actually, I ask you really to reflect on whether the way in which we're approaching this is actually ever going to get us to the table around having a conversation. So, today's about career education, the CDI is about career guidance, and I think the first thing we've got to do is be really clear about the language that we're using around this. So my three things are, first of all, use evidence creatively. As practitioners, I trained in 1986 and I've always stayed close to practice. The way you bring about change is that you actually creatively use evidence for an interest. Use all sorts, infographics, ways in which we can make some of these key messages really stand out. So first, use that evidence creatively to illustrate the facts to senior leaders and indeed to your other peers. I think secondly, we have to be able to articulate what does a good careers offer look like. I think the Gatsby benchmarks 3 years ago designed where for the last 3 years no one has said Gatsby benchmarks are not useful. Of course they are useful, and there's something that we can all get behind. But when I work with head teachers, they say, well, in principle, there's nothing too challenging there that we would disagree with. So build, as a practitioner, build that careers offer. What does it look like? And if careers education programs is something that people think are kind of, 1990s, 2000, creatively use your language around that, supporting the learning of others in the institution, and indeed then supporting the learning of the students. I would say this, I think if you don't align your work to the mission of the school, you really are probably not going to get very far. So again, as a practitioner, even in higher education, we don't get anything in higher education to bring about change unless you can align as a practitioner what you're doing to the mission of the organisation and pick out the language in that mission that connects with careers. And then the final thing I would say is I've come across a lot of practitioners who just burn out. It's hard work actually bringing about change. Some people describe it as they're in an island or they feel isolated in the school. So the third thing is actually to build your network of supporters in the school and outside of the school to prevent burnout and also to help you remain curious about the work that you do.
Thank you.
Well, I hope that's given you food for